A Marine amputee named Linda Carrington is violently assaulted by bikers in a Texas diner while bystanders do nothing. A fellow veteran secretly calls for help. Minutes later, a convoy of Marines arrives to stand with Linda, publicly confronting her attackers and restoring her dignity. The bikers are arrested, and the diner is transformed into Valor Grounds Cafe, a haven for veterans. Linda becomes a local symbol of strength, guiding others and reclaiming her voice. In the end, surrounded by support, she helps a young cadet feel welcome, finally feeling safe, respected, and at home herself. Linda Carrington moved like muscle memory behind the counter of the diner, her motions fluid, practiced, a coffee pot in one hand, a pencil behind her ear, and her prosthetic leg humming softly with every step of her wheelchair support motor. She didn't draw attention to herself. Didn't need to. The small-town folks in Eagle Pass knew her, the quiet former Marine who worked double shifts and never complained. Then the bell over the door jangled. 3 men entered, bikers, loud and red-eyed with the scent of beer clinging to their vests. Linda looked up briefly, instinct scanning the room. She'd seen the type before. Swagger that fed on silence. They laughed too loud, tossed a quarter on the counter like it was a tip, and one pointed at her leg. "Nice hardware," he jeered. "Bet that comes with a Full Metal attitude, huh?" Linda didn't respond, just wheeled over to refill the coffee of an elderly couple who pretended not to hear. One of the bikers stepped forward, towering over her. He kicked the edge of her chair slightly. She still didn't flinch. "Say something, cyborg. Or what? Your batteries run out." A child whimpered from the corner booth. His father, a veteran himself, sat frozen, jaw clenched, white-knuckled hands gripping the table. The biker sneered and then, without warning, shoved her wheelchair backward. The sound was sudden, sickening. Metal hit tile. Her head slammed against the base of a table leg. Coffee flew through the air, scalding her chest. Her prosthetic cracked audibly. Linda's eyes fluttered. For a moment, all sound vanished. Just a flicker of fluorescent lights, and the copper taste of blood on her lip. She blinked, dazed, and saw no help. Only turned backs. A manager crouched behind a pastry counter. A waitress frozen, tray trembling in her grip. The child's cry echoed. On the floor, her old Marine unit photo drifted from her wallet, sliding across grease-stained linoleum. Linda clenched her fists, pulled herself upright, alone. Linda sat on the diner's bathroom floor, her knuckles pale from gripping the sink. The mirror reflected a woman she barely recognized, smeared makeup, sweat beading on her brow, and a thin trail of blood weaving down her temple. Her shirt clung damply to her skin, coffee-soaked and reeking. Her cracked prosthetic leg jutted awkwardly beneath her. She dabbed the cut with a napkin. No medical attention. No scene. That's how she'd been raised. That's how the Corps had trained her. No weakness. No need. Just endure. Outside the door, the world carried on. Plates clattered. Silverware scraped. The bikers laughed, one of them mimicking her fall, like it was a barroom joke. Another spun the broken leg brace on his finger like a trophy. The manager stood nearby, doing nothing, avoiding eye contact. Linda's stomach twisted. She leaned over the sink and vomited quietly, one hand bracing against the wall. She wiped her mouth, rinsed away what she could, and stared into the mirror again. A Marine stared back, battered, but not broken. Then she noticed something, etched faintly into the foggy glass by time and cleaning solvents. Semper Fi? Probably scratched in by a vet long, before she ever arrived. But now, it stared back at her like command. She pushed herself upright, limped back to her chair, and rolled out into the diner. The manager leaned close. "If you want to leave now, I can dock you half shift, but not fire you. Think about it." He didn't ask if she was okay. Across the room, Mark Daniels stood quietly by the window. His son clung to his pant leg, face still streaked with dried tears. Mark had served 2 tours. He'd watched Linda go down and done nothing. The shame itched at him worse than any shrapnel scar. "Go wait outside by the tree, kiddo," he said gently. The boy nodded and stepped out. Mark pulled a battered flip phone from his pocket and called a number he hadn't used in years. When it picked up, he didn't hesitate. "This isn't about rank. This is about dignity," he said. "One of ours was attacked. No backup. No honor. No help." A pause. Then a low voice on the other end. "Coordinates?" Mark gave the name of the diner, added one last phrase. "Bring the flag." He ended the call and looked back through the window. Inside, the bikers were louder now. One slammed a cup onto the counter. Another had Linda's Marine photo in his hand, snorting, "Back when Robolegs still had two real ones." The waitress just stood there, eyes locked on nothing. Linda rolled toward the kitchen. "Table 5 wants their eggs redone," she said, voice calm but strained. The cook nodded, silent. Mark's phone buzzed once. A single message. ETA 19 minutes. Flags flying. He closed the phone and whispered, "Now you've got backup, Staff Sergeant. Hold the line." The sound hit first, low, rumbling, growing louder by the second. Outside the diner, tires crunched against gravel as 3 military vehicles rolled into the parking lot. Olive drab, spotless, unmistakable. One bore a mounted flag, the stars and stripes snapping in the breeze. Inside, the bikers turned toward the windows, laughter dying on their lips. The lead vehicle stopped directly in front. Out stepped a Marine in full dress blues, Master Gunnery Sergeant Emery Blake. His face was stone, scar cutting his cheek, a cane carved with campaign years gripped in his hand. The bell jingled. Behind him came 4 more Marines, sharp, still, and silent. The diner froze. A child dropped his fork. The waitress took a step back. Even the cook peeked from the window. Emery scanned the room, then locked eyes on Linda, still seated behind the counter. Blood dried at her temple, coffee stained across her chest. He approached slowly and raised his hand in a crisp, deliberate salute. "Staff Sergeant Carrington," he said, voice firm. "Permission to stand with you." Linda blinked, then returned the salute. Permission granted. He nodded once, turned the room. "An American was assaulted here today," he announced. "On our ground. One of ours." The words landed like hammer blows. Corporal Ryan Jenkins stepped forward, young but scarred. He knelt beside Linda, voice low but cutting. "She carried me through Fallujah," he said, eyes locked on her cracked prosthetic. "With that leg." He looked up at the bikers. "You think breaking it breaks her?" One biker stood. "We didn't know." A Marine blocked his path. "Sit down." He did, fast. Another tried to speak. A Marine stared him silent. Emery reached into his jacket and unfolded a triangle of stars and stripes, laying it gently before Linda. "Brought this from the base chapel," he said. "We draped these over fallen. But this one's for a fighter still standing." Phone started recording. Quietly, steadily. The waitress raised hers too. The manager crept out from the back. It happened so fast. "You did nothing," Emery cut in. "That was your choice." A Marine stepped forward with a black case. Evidence kit. Someone submitted a video. "We have it all." The bikers stiffened. One began to sweat. The third began to cry. Then sirens. Local cruisers pulled in. Officers exited and walked straight to Emery. "We've reviewed the footage." One said, "Charges: assault, hate crime, endangerment." The bikers were cuffed. No struggle. One turned toward Linda and sneered. A Marine stepped between them. "Not today." The cuffs clicked shut. Linda sat still. The flag rested in her lap, her hands gripping it like it was oxygen. People began to stand. Slowly, one by one, the father lifted his boy to his shoulders. The waitress removed her apron and laid it on the counter. Silent penance. Emery turned to them all. "You don't need to know someone's story to stand up for them," he said. "But if you know a warrior, act like it." The Marines turned and left, precise and unhurried. And in their wake, silence fell again. Not fear, not shame, respect. Linda, for the first time in years, let herself breathe. By the time the sun dipped behind the hills, Valor Grounds Cafe had replaced the old sign. Gone was Rosita's Diner. In its place, black steel letters carved with purpose. A new era, born from pain and reclaimed with pride. The plaque was the first thing people noticed. Bolted to brick beside the entrance, it read, "Where those who serve will always be served." Linda didn't ask for it. She never would have. But the Marines insisted. The town council approved it unanimously. Even the mayor showed up for the unveiling, nodding as he tapped the plaque with the back of his knuckles. There wasn't a speech, just silence and the slow, solemn salute of every veteran present. Inside, change moved fast. The entire staff was questioned by a Marine legal team and local law enforcement. One customer had recorded the whole assault. It was submitted anonymously, but everyone suspected Mark Daniels. He never confirmed or denied it, just sat with his son on the curb outside the diner, watching justice roll in on black boots and command voices. Within 72 hours, the bikers had been formally charged, aggravated assault, hate crime, and reckless endangerment. Bail denied. One of them had a prior. He cried in court. Another stared into space as the judge read the charges, mouth moving silently, as if searching for a defense that had long since abandoned him. The manager resigned quietly the next day. No statement, no apology, just vanished like a bad odor chased by wind. The waitress who had stood frozen that day stayed, and worked without pay for the next week, scrubbing, repainting, helping Linda after hours. Linda returned to work the following Monday. She wore her Marine pin now, high on her chest, sharp and proud. Her uniform was pressed, prosthetic reinforced with a new brace delivered by courier straight from Quantico. It came with a handwritten note from Jenkins. "They don't make 'em like you, Staff Sergeant, but I'm glad they made you." She didn't smile much, but people noticed she stood taller. The diner buzzed, louder than ever. Families, veterans, old-timers, many of whom hadn't set foot in the place in years, returned like migrating birds. A corner booth was now permanently reserved. A folded flag sat centered on its table, a framed copy of Linda's unit photo beside it. Customers left notes. Children drew pictures and taped them to the glass beside the booth. One simply said, "Thank you for standing." Local law enforcement coordinated with the Marines and VA. Staff underwent training in veteran sensitivity and emergency response. The diner even posted new signage. Respect is not optional here. The school board asked Linda to speak at the high school's ROTC ceremony. She declined the first request, then accepted the second, standing before a crowd of nervous teenagers in press cadet uniforms. She spoke only 8 words. Courage isn't loud. It just doesn't back down. The auditorium exploded in applause. PTSD never left her. It never would. Some nights, she still woke up gasping, the floor tile cold against her back, the phantom taste of burnt coffee, the whimper of a child, and the slap of flesh against steel. But there were arms to catch her now. The Marines returned every Thursday. They didn't just order food. They stood guard in spirit. They sat at her tables, kept the peace, shared stories. They watched over her and over each other. One day, a man entered wearing a white collar, priest's cross glinting under his coat. He asked to see Linda. "I'm here about the boy," he said quietly, "the one who cried that day." She led him to the corner booth. The man sat, spoke softly, and cried. Word traveled. People came from out of state. Veterans groups, Gold Star families, survivors. They came to Valor Grounds like it was a chapel. A local reporter published a piece titled, "The Diner That Refused to Stay Silent." It spread. News outlets picked it up, then military publications, then national press. But Linda still mopped the floor, still checked the fryer filters, still cleared plates. She just did it with a new kind of quiet, a strength not drawn from fury, but from foundation. One night, she caught a reflection in the glass door. Same scar, same leg, same woman. But now, there was something different in her eyes. Fire, not for war, for dignity, for home. The bell above the door jingled softly, just once, as it always did. Linda looked up from her notes at the register. It was mid-morning, slow and quiet, the kind of peace that used to make her uneasy. Now it felt earned. A girl stepped in, barely 18, slender, tense, wearing a brand-new Army cadet uniform, like it didn't quite fit her yet. She hesitated in the doorway, eyes scanning the room, nervous, trying not to be noticed, trying not to be judged. Linda wheeled out from behind the counter, her uniform crisp, her prosthetic steady. She stopped in front of the girl and gently laid a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to be brave yet," she said, voice calm as granite. "Just be present." The girl blinked, nodded, a little stunned by the gentleness. "Coffee?" Linda asked. "Yes, please, ma'am," the girl whispered. "On the house," Linda replied, guiding her to a seat near the wall of tributes. Flags, photos, letters, dog tags framed beside bronze nameplates. A piece of her life in every frame. As the coffee poured, conversations rose gently around the room. Familiar, warm, the kind of noise that didn't threaten, the kind that made strangers feel like they belonged. For Marines stood near the back, mugs raised. A few locals, ranchers, welders, a teacher with chalk still on his sleeve, stood too, their eyes kind, their silence respectful. Linda tapped a spoon on her mug. "Can I have your attention?" The room went still. She raised her cup high. "To those who stand up even when no one else does. To those who carry others when they're falling. And to those who stayed standing even when the world didn't." Mugs lifted. Heads bowed. Voices murmured back. The girl smiled quietly. It was small, but it was real. Outside, a black SUV idled at the curb. Taped to its rear window was a note, worn at the edges, but still legible. She didn't fall. The world did, and she stayed standing anyway. Linda sipped her coffee, watching a grizzled veteran laugh again for the first time in years. A boy high-fived a soldier in uniform. Two strangers shared pie. For the first time in forever, she felt safe, respected, home.